You're listening to On the Road, a law enforcement journey. Hear from those currently on the force while getting an insider view from what it takes to become a law enforcement officer.
Welcome to episode number 14 of On the Road, a law enforcement journey. I'm your host, Jeremy Tormla. I want to apologize. It has been quite a while since I've been able to find a time to do an episode. We had our spring break week and wanted to use that time to just completely decompress and get away from anything as far as studying and all that type of stuff. Just let my brain completely do a brain, not a brain dump, but just completely just let my body relax. This last week and this week and the next coming week are going to be our busiest. It has been nonstop go, go, go. So that is why I haven't had any shows of recent. I've also been dealing with a little bit of a bug for the last 2 weeks. I've taken a few COVID tests and they've come back negative. So I think a lot of it's just the main thing is the allergies from the changes in temperatures, because we will literally go from having 1 or 2 days in the mid 60s to right back into the low 30s and get all stuffy and nose drippy, and it's just not fun. That being said, I haven't done any kind of physical training, which I love going to the gym, so that's been driving me crazy. So what this episode is going to cover, episode is going to be a recap of weeks 12 and 13. So the week we just ended on, and then last week, our practical segment. Now, our practical and fitness segments are going to be kind of a little bit brief. Mainly because we've done so much. I just don't want to just ramble on for the sake of rambling on, but just to have some sort of practicality or some of the segment-based stuff to keep consistency with the previous shows. So our practical segment is going to be the importance of failing and training. This is not towards fitness training. It's towards training in police work, or for my sake, in the academy, because that's when the best learning happens. Our fitness segment is going to talk about where to begin or where to go once your physical training has stopped. We've did our exit fitness test for MCOLs here in Michigan, and we don't have PT anymore. So we start our classes 8:30 in the morning. So it's important to continue to training, and that responsibility falls on yourself once your structured training has come to a stop. So let's just get right into it. I apologize if I'm a little bit all over the place. I wrote down some notes from just a basic synopsis of what we did. I'm not going to go into too much detail because the sole purpose of this is try to give a basic outline of what we do each week. Now, there are some classes where I'll throw a little bit more information on because it was really either important or very intriguing. I use that word intriguing a ton. All right. So week 12, the week of April 4th. So this week it was the week back from spring break, and it was the week of our MCOLs exit fitness test and our defensive tactics practical and written evaluations. So April 4th was on Monday. PT, we did a lot of running, a lot of slow pace running, sprints, wall sits. We didn't do any darn push-ups, which I was happy about, because my worst fear was we were going to do push-ups to failure every day leading up to the PT test. So I was glad Monday we didn't do any darn push-ups. And then our training for 7 hours on Monday was just lecture on the standard field sobriety tests, which is pretty cool. I'll touch a little bit more on it, but we actually have one of our kids in our class who was kind of fun to do the practical stuff on, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But SFSTs, very cool stuff, very beneficial stuff. I was one of those ones who, when you watch cops or police shows like that, like Live PD when that was on, and you watch some of the stuff, like I was never a fan of the one-legged stand, because me being in the strength and conditioning field, I'm like, I've worked with numerous athletes who can't stand on a single leg. Like, how the heck is that going to tell if somebody's inebriated or not? But when you do it properly, and once you learn about all the steps and the accuracy as far as how close it can come to somebody who's at least at a 0.08, there is value to it. And again, that was just my own ignorance of not having that knowledge base. So now I have a completely different perspective on that. But it was just 7 hours of lecture to get through that stuff. And then our last 2 hours a day, we did warrantless search procedures. And I'm going to talk about this here I know it's one of the days coming up because there is some confusion in our class about the search incident to arrest. And I've been asking people all over the place because I feel confident with the answer I got. I mean, I go to my brother again for any questions I have because he is very proactive and experienced in so much of this stuff and has been through it many, many times. So go through those who actually have the experience instead of, well, I don't know, I've never done it, but the law or education says this. But that's what we did for the last 2 hours. Tuesday, fitness. We did push-ups, jumping jacks, and running outside. So I was thinking we were going to regress a little bit because we went outside in our full outdoor PT gear. So we had our hoodies, our jackets, gloves, and hats on. And we came back inside. You got 30 seconds. Everybody better get your gear off and get it dressed right dress. And of course, that didn't happen. It's like, oh, shit, here we go, right back from spring break, and we get 30 seconds to get our stuff in. And of course, it's never the actual 30 seconds. 30 seconds goes to 10 seconds, and then you're getting yelled at and screamed at for being an embarrassment and yada, yada, yada. So it's just the nature of the beast. Same thing. We went in the military. That was pretty much our PT session. And then we did 7 hours of more of lecture on SFSTs. Holy crap. Can't get that out of my mouth right. But we did a little bit more practicing. So it was like the first maybe 4 hours was lecturing. So getting through the rest of the material. And then the second half, the 3 hours was practicing it. So we make sure we get the wording down and that we're giving the proper steps and stuff like that. Really fun training. And then we get doing scenarios. So pulling somebody out of the car and running it on them. Again, just to practice is where you learn, and repetitions is so important. If you're not doing those repetitions, it's not going to ingrain in the brain, and then it'll just essentially do a brain dump. You learn it quickly and then let it go quickly. We don't want to do that. We also had told, because we were told Friday of that week is going to be our practical and our written evaluation for the SFSTs. So we were told to come up with 2 of our own additional tests that we would like to do, because the 3 are the horizontal gaze and nystagmus test, the one-legged stand, and the walk and turn. Not in that order, of course. But then we had to come up with 2 on our own that we want to use, and it could. I mean, for the most part, everybody went with just a variation of the ABC and a count. That was it for Tuesday. Wednesday, fitness. It was pouring rain outside. We ran outside the entire time, and guess what we did? We did push-ups to failure, beyond failure. And in my mind, I'm just being honest on here. And I don't want to say anything negative or anything, but in my mind, I was going, we have a freaking fitness evaluation tomorrow. Why are we doing this? Like, if I was to do something like this to my athletes, if I was like training my hockey guys, like after preseason, the say they play on a Friday and Wednesday, it's the first week of the regular season, and they come in there and I'm running those guys into the ground and training them to failure, my ass would be fired in a heartbeat. So in my mind, because of my knowledge base, I mean, I shouldn't say knowledge base. It seems kind of common sense that you shouldn't do something like that. So I was a little bit concerned about what my performance was going to be like for the MCOL's fitness test afterwards. That's all I'll say on that. Defense tactics, practical, the written and practical exams that took up all 7 hours of our day. Written was common sense stuff. Your just basic, your officer response, like escalation of force, and subject's response, escalation of force, that type of stuff. How to properly search, the different variations of cuffing. And our practical took a long time to get everybody through, but we went through everything on our practical. That was your different cuffing cuffs. So from the prone, your speed cuffing, kneeling cuffing, a custodial search, a pat down, all your pressure points, how to get out of them, mount escapes, guard escapes. We covered everything and had to test out on it. So it was fun. Went by super fast. It was waiting to go that took the longest. And then our last 2 hours, we did more warrantless search procedures. Thursday, MCOL's exit fitness test. So we started 7 o'clock in the morning. So 2.5 hours block allotted for this. And everybody passed, which was good. Again, my chest was definitely sore from the day before. So I was worried about that, but did 59 push-ups. I don't remember sit-ups. I think it was like 48 sit-ups. Ran my half-mile shuttle in 3 minutes and 57 seconds, and vertical jump was 24 inches. So overall, I wasn't, that's really good. So I'm 35. I'll take that. Just glad to have that done and over with. So, main reason was like I was looking forward to starting my own training program again, to be able to start weightlifting 3 to 4 days a week again. But then I got sick. I was actually sick during this entire time, so that was kind of a concern of mine too. So, but everybody passed. It was nice to have that little camaraderie, the team environment of pushing each other, to make sure everybody passes, because we're all one team. You don't want to see somebody fall behind or not succeed. That wouldn't be good. Especially, I mean, you got 9 people. Our group is pretty close. That would be a tough pill to swallow if somebody didn't make it. And then defense tactics for 7 hours. I was dreading this day because it was the Red Man day. If you don't know what Red Man is, it's just drills. The instructors are in red man suits, and you literally have to do whatever the be scenarios, or literally one-on-one fighting with them. So it's throwing strikes and all that stuff, because they are literally covered up head to toe to protect themselves, and they do not cooperate at all. But the way we did it was actually kind of fun. So it was to test our knowledge on all the things we've learned the entire academy. Some scenarios had one instructor, some had two, and how you responded could escalate the situation or de-escalate it, because sometimes you'd be holding a knife, and what you say or the tone of your voice could either escalate it to where they're charging at you and you got to respond or whatever. The the one that threw me off. So the last one is the hardest one. Was you stand in the middle, they instruct you to close your eyes. Once you feel contact, open up your eyes. So I had one instructor behind me grab onto my waist belt. So as soon as I open my eyes, I'm going down, and one on the side of me and hit me from the front. And these guys are much bigger than I am. And it was on point wrestling, trying to get them off of you or trying to knock one out, doing whatever you can to get them off of you and get in the fight. I lost a boot. It was, it's funny to look back now on, but it was absolutely exhausting to go through that. 30 seconds, you're completely gassed, and we were going longer than that. It was a great experience. It was a lot of fun. Again, learn a lot, because could have, from those situations, oh, I should have made sure I did this, or I could have done this better. And you would never know that stuff if you didn't have that happen. That was probably one of my most favorite things out of our subject control or defensive tactics that we've done. That was a lot of fun. And then our last 2 hours on Thursday was just criminal law, suspect identification. So just doing lineups, your different lineups, your corporeal lineups, your photo lineups, and your show up lineups, just the differences in what's preferred and what's not preferred, the strengths and weaknesses of each. Pretty common sense. Friday was SFSTs. We did 10 hours, and it was just recapping. So going over a refresher of the material that we learned, then taking our written evaluation, and then spending the rest of the afternoon doing all of our practicals. It was a lot of fun. Again, I don't know how many times I pretty much said it. I have an hour drive from where I live, so pretty much an entire morning, my drive up, I was just reciting the horizontal gaze, the nystagmus, the walk and turn, and the one leg stand over and over and over and over again in my head. So that really helps. Week 13. So that was just this previous week. This was a crazy busy week. Hardly had any time for anything. It's just, and it's only to get busier from here. We are pretty much in our stage. We're so close to being done. It is all scenario based. The intensity is much higher. Just to get us prepared for that, so we don't have much quote unquote downtime. It is, if we're not doing written evaluations, practical evaluations, we're doing criminal law exams, and we're doing pretty much all day scenario based training. So Monday we did 3 hours of terrorism. This is for the week of April 11th. Monday we did 3 hours terrorism awareness, 2 hours of weapons mass destruction, 3 hours of mental disorders, how to deal with those people. And that's very important. I'm not going to touch much on this, but that is such a big population that we're going to deal with, because mental health and mental disorders are so prevalent around the world. And it takes a lot of skill and interpersonal skills to be able to handle those situations and deal with those people. So we as police officers need to continually train to understand how we can be better equipped to handle those situations. Not saying we need to act like a psychiatrist or anything, because that's way out of our scope, but how we can avoid escalating the situation when it doesn't need to be, because they see reality a little bit different than what we see it. So you need to understand that. It goes back to interpersonal skills. And then last 2 hours, warrantless search procedures, which turn into more scenario based training. So we would be outside in our cars doing traffic stops, and it'd just be different scenarios. So if you stop for somebody for speeding, and then you see, say, a gun in the passenger seat, person's not holding the CPL, what would you do? And then obviously you get your feedback at the end. Some of us have made some mistakes. Again, I'll get that in my practical segment. That's where learning happens. You're not going to know, especially in our stage right now, going through the academy. There's only so much time to teach us stuff, and we're so new to this that we're trying to remember everything. So everything's kind of a stressor, that you forget some basic stuff. So when you go through it and you get that feedback from the instructors, it's very helpful. But a lot of those mistakes, especially if they're big ones, when you go back through or when you go through other scenarios, you don't make that same mistake again, because some of them are pretty costly. Again, can look back on some of these and laugh because it's training, but I would hate to have something like that happen in real life. Tuesday, we did firearms outdoors all day. That was a lot of fun. We did shotguns. We did our shotgun qualification, and we did our qualification for the long rifle. And then we did a lot of pistol shooting just to brush up on that stuff, because it's been, boy, has it been over a month? Has it almost been 2 months since we've shot? I don't know. Most of us didn't lose anything, though, so that was nice. It's just, again, when you do the same thing over and over and over again, you can go a while without, in some aspects, not everything, but you can, as long as you have good file folders and good habits, you can go a little bit of time and not do something and just pick up and not be that rusty from it. Shotgun was a lot of fun. I have not shot a shotgun since the military, so that was a blast, to see the difference between your slugs, bird shot, and buckshot. That was a lot of fun. Then we got to even shoot one of our instructors' sniper rifle at the end when everybody was done. That was pretty cool. That was sweet. A fun learning experience, and just to see how something that has a lot of high technological type stuff on it, how accurate it is, and with like a silencer, how quiet it was. Just crazy, pretty cool. I'm glad that they were willing to let us do something like that after we were done with all the training that we needed to do. Criminal law, at the end of the day, we did court functions and civil law, 2 hours. Wednesday, traffic stops, we did for 4 hours, and this was just nonstop, rolling with a partner, back and forth, just going instructor to instructor, doing variations of traffic stops. And this would be from anywhere from running a stop sign, crossing a double yellow center, or just many different scenarios. How would you deal with it? How are you talking to people, and handling situations as they come? And it was during this block where I'm going to talk about our practical segment, because I made a pretty big part of my language, but it was pretty big fuck up on my part. But I won't let that happen again. Then we did 2 hours of explosive devices, which was pretty cool to, it is crazy, the criminal mind when it comes to crime, but like for making drugs and like explosive devices. My time overseas, it was the same thing. Just blows you away on how creative people can get to make things that are not good for society. It's just like, if you put your mind towards being that creative, that's something productive towards society, imagine how different this world would be. It's just crazy the extents people will go. And explosive devices, that's everything from your grenades, your basic fireworks that you see on the 4th of July and stuff like that. So being able to identify potential hazards and what to look out for when you should go, oh crap, I should probably call somebody else out because this is way out, I'm way over my head and not in my scope of practice. Then we did 1 hour of civil disputes and 1 hour of civil processes. Last 2 hours, again, we did more scenarios, suspect identifications. I'll talk a little bit on this because they brought in people from different departments, so people we're not familiar with. which was a really good idea. And they were really good at acting. So it brought the intensity level up very high. One of the females we did had to respond to, it was a 911 hang up. Potential domestic in progress, and dispatch just heard somebody saying, "I'm yelling, I'm going to cut you," over the phone, and then they lost contact. But the female, excuse me, was yelling and screaming and throwing stuff in the hallway. So it took put more realism into it, okay? Because it's a lot different when it's your buddies or somebody you've been working with for 13 weeks trying to do a scenario, and somebody might say something stupid and you might chuckle a little bit. But when it's somebody you don't know and they are literally at a 10, it definitely is like, oh crap. Like it was great learning experience, by far one of the most beneficial days we've also done. um I hope we continue to do that stuff, because again, going back to the repetition scheme, the more you do things, um the more you're going to learn what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, and then it gives more opportunity to fail, because that's where you're going to learn on the big mistakes on what you shouldn't be doing. Because you don't want to, like my case, I don't want to get on the road and look like an idiot like during the FTO, which that's going to happen, because I've just went through an academy. I'm not going to be somebody who has 5, 10, 15, 20 years of road experience. That's far different than, my knucklehead self, who just went through, I'm only, 13 weeks in to the police academy. So, but I want to have some sort of foundation or knowledge base that, well, we've gone through some pretty high quality, legit training. So I at least kind of know what to expect, instead of having my first taste. And it wouldn't be my first taste, because again, I did this in military, but going on the road and then having my first time being yelled at by somebody and going, oh crap, what do I do? How do I handle this situation? So when we brought those outside people in and they were acting like that, it was highly valuable. Great training. Now, Thursday, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, these 3 days were our emergency vehicle operations course. And now that I'm 35, I'm not a guy who likes to go fast. So I was a little bit stressed out about it, because I'm like, oh, in the Army, I was like, ooh, fast, quick, sharp turns of the wheel, get the skid out, all that type of fun stuff. When you're 35, it's like, oh, there's so much risk. Well, that's me anyways. Long story short, I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, but we did 8 hours of just lecture on Thursday. So learning the basics of like turns, the radiuses, apexes, um, how a vehicle handles, what's the difference between a front skid and a rear skid, just that type of stuff. Then we did criminal law and domestic violence for the last 2 hours of the day, and studying, because we have our final exam coming up this coming week for criminal law. I can't believe I'm saying that. Again, if anybody's thinking on going to an academy, or if you're in an academy and you're just starting, it goes by so darn fast. Like, I can't believe I can see my exit date. I can see my start date at the department where I'm going on the calendar when I open up. That is just holy shit. It goes by fast. So if that's something that concerns you, don't even think about that. Sign up, do it. Again, if it's calling in your blood, go ahead and do it. Friday, we did driving all day. We did day driving and night driving, and it was just the obstacle courses per se that we are going to test out on. So I think we did each one 5 or 10 times. It was a lot of fun. We killed a lot of cones when you're first learning how to do stuff. We were using Dodge Chargers. A lot of fun. One of them was a skid vehicle. So what I mean by that is it had like a kit on it. It's 4 tires, but it has like the instructor is able to punch numbers that can change how the vehicle handles. So it's like trying to drive on ice, which is pretty cool. So we drive like 10 miles an hour just doing figure eights and stuff, and you get put in this skid. You got to correct yourself and get out of it. That was a lot of fun and very beneficial, because I'm from the Upper Peninsula in Michigan. We get a shit ton of snow. I've done numerous skids in my actual personal vehicle before, but it's always fun to get extra training. Night patrol was fun. We did at the very end, we did some pursuit stuff, which was pretty cool. Just to see how much coordination it takes to be on the radio, calling stuff out while you're trying to pursue after somebody and maintain control of the vehicle and get through obstacles. That was a blast. it was just super cold out, so we were standing outside all day because if you weren't driving, you were on one of the courses picking up cones, and it was just I think just at 40 degrees, and today was 32. Same concept. Today we tested out. We did all the same stuff, but it was evaluations. Um, we were scheduled for 8. We didn't go the full 8 hours, which was nice. Everybody did really well. It was just nice. We showed up today. We just did 1 or 2 practice rounds to make sure we were still comfortable and knew what we were doing. And then after that, are you ready to be evaluated? Yep. All right, let's go. And most of the times it was best 3 out of 4. You weren't allowed to hit any cones, or they had like a certain list that you have to go off of, not using brakes and some drills and stuff like that. A lot of fun. Our last day will be next Friday when we actually go to a track, and we'll be doing performance driving. So that's when we'll get to go drive super really fast and practice all those things about how I'm going to an apex and the inner lanes, outer lanes, and then pursuit driving. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. Maybe it'll get me out of my my old man slow syndrome. And one of the guys asked, "What's the fastest you've ever gone?" I'm like, I don't know, maybe 90 miles an hour when driving through Montana. And a lot of the other ones have gone up, 100, 110, 120 miles per hour in their cars. I'm like, I can't even imagine going that fast. So it'll be fun. All right. So this is probably going to be a little bit short. I know I said that one time and it ended up being a full length of the episode. But I'm just going to dive right into our practice segment. As you can tell, I'm not 100% yet either. And that's training to failure. Cannot stress it, especially if you're younger. It's okay to fail at things. It is okay to be terrible at things. That is how you learn. That is how you get better. Anybody who's ever became successful in life, whether it be acting, music, or running a business, has failed at some aspect, but it's made them better and able to overcome things. Nobody's ever, I mean, there are people, but I mean, nobody's ever gone through and done everything 100% all the time and made it big. Because then once you reach that first failure, if you've never been through it before, it's going to knock you in the face hard and you won't know what to do. So you want to fail, not intentionally fail like that. I mean, there's a difference between failing because you missed something or it was something you weren't aware of, compared to, all right, well, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm going to do it anyways. There's a huge difference. So for us, I'm applying this to scenarios and stress levels. For my sake, we were doing that 4-hour traffic stop block, and I know the importance. So when you arrest somebody, search them before you put them in the patrol car. And you should also search your patrol car before you get into it. Mistake number 1, I didn't do that right there. Excuse me. So this one scenario, all right. Stop the guy for speeding, and he was drunk. Of course, it's an instructor, so he's playing the part, but drunk driver, super inebriated. So doing all your basic questioning, running the name, and then doing the SFSTs. And then handcuff and put him straight in the back of my patrol car. Well, as already said before, I didn't search my patrol car before getting in it, and I forgot to search him after handcuffing him. Pretty stupid mistake. A pretty seriously stupid mistake. I don't know why I didn't do that. I was just so focused on the you're trying to be aware of everything that you forget the basic officer safety stuff. Needless to say, I won't let that happen again. But I'm literally in the vehicle, checking over everything and running some stuff, and then I hear him in the background, in the back of my patrol car. Again, I'm only laughing now because this was training. I wasn't laughing at the time. I was pretty pissed at myself. But now I can look back. But he's like, I'm bleeding, and I just thought, all regular, just quote unquote drunk, yelling. I'm like, I'll be fine. It's okay. Like, we all make mistakes. You'll be fine. It's like, oh, I got a knife in my back. I turn around and sure as shit, he's holding a knife in his back. And I was like, what in the hell? I mean, because he was handcuffed behind him. I thought initially it was because I didn't search him that he had it on him. No, it was in the backseat of the patrol car, and I never searched the patrol car. So 2 big mistakes right there. It could have been worse because he could have stabbed me had I not handcuffed him. Again, it's training, but real life that could have happened. And I didn't search him, which is another huge error in officer safety thing. So, needless to say, guess what 2 errors I won't make again? Not searching somebody after I arrest them, and then checking my patrol car before and after shift. And I know some people listeners probably like, if you weren't you former military police, like you should already know that. Just like, yes, but it has been a long time, and some of those skills, like I completely changed routes. I went from police work to fitness and strength and conditioning. Anything law enforcement related, for the most part, got completely dumped out of my brain. So for the most part, I'm relearning everything as well. And again, some common sense stuff ain't so common sense all the time when you're um, maybe rushing through things. Not saying that's what I was doing. Maybe I was. I don't know. But again, long story short, mistakes is what happens. There's a couple other other students who've made mistakes too, and it's the learning points for all of us, because it's nice to be able to, at the end of the day, come back and go, here's the scenarios we did, here's the mistakes, what did you guys see? Like them asking us, what did you guys see and what could have went better, or how could you have been better? Because then we could learn from each other and then see what other mistakes people made to make sure we're not doing that as well. Again, highly beneficial stuff. Anytime you can get extra training, whether it's dealing with people, scenario training, or firearms training, those are all skills that are necessary to upkeep, and not necessarily that you're going to lose them, but it's just to get better at them, because there might be some stuff that you may not be aware of or that you don't know, and you'll fail at that, and that'll allow you to learn and become a better police officer because of that. It's when you're not trying to develop yourself professionally, where you're only going to make yourself weaker and you're not going to be a strong member of the team. And we got to relate this back to the community relies on you, your department relies on you, your fellow officers rely on you, and you you need to rely on you too and your own capabilities. I don't know how many times we've heard in this academy, which I really appreciate, is do not become the 20 to 25-year police officer who's lazy and complacent and doesn't do anything anymore. Do not be that police officer. If you got to learn from them on your FTO program or whatever, that's fine, but make sure you don't do that. Thankfully, where I'm going, I'm very happy for the opportunity. I can't wait to get started. Going to a very good department, um, where everybody, the leadership, everybody there is outstanding, and I'm looking forward to getting rolling and learning everything. I very much do not regret changing careers, not even an ounce. If again, if I could go back, I wish I would have done it sooner. Making sure. Oh, okay. So while we're still on this practical segment, I mentioned about the search incident to arrest. So some of us are confused, or not confused now, but we get mixed messages on this one, because there's all the different case laws, whether it be Belton versus New York or Arizona versus Gant, um, those type cases that help kind of pave the way or clarify things a little bit for something like search incident to arrest. But I'm going to use this scenario. So our scenario is going back to stopping somebody for speeding, get up there, and there's a gun in the passenger seat. It's a stolen firearm. The person does not have a CPL. So what I got hemmed at the end of the scenario was, after taking the firearm, not searching the rest of the vehicle, was told, once you get that fire, you could search the entire vehicle. And I'm just going in my head, how? Like, that I stopped you originally for speeding, and I get the firearm is another crime in the vehicle. I get that. But how does that give me a right to search the entire vehicle? Because when we talk about Arizona versus Gant and search incident to arrest, the person has to be like in a reachable area to be able to get rid of or destroy the evidence. And if they're in the handcuffed in the back of your patrol car, they're no longer capable of doing that. So how does that give you right to search the entire vehicle? The other thing was, another one said, well, a motor vehicle naturally is exception to the warrant because it is readily movable. Like that's why it's an exception. But then our prosecutor brought this up to our criminal law instructor too. It's just like, But if somebody's in the back of your patrol car, that vehicle is no longer readily movable. So how has it become an exception to the warrant? A warrantless search still. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. And his perspective was, it doesn't. You need a search warrant. You can grab the firearm, anything with an arm's reach, but you need a search warrant to search the rest of that vehicle. And there's been pretty much everybody else who says you don't need one, because you could be searching for other weapons and stuff like that. But I'm just going to go with, again, what my brother said, and what our criminal law instructor says. When in doubt, always get a search warrant. Never going to go wrong doing that. So I guess that could be another thing of practical stuff. If you don't know, ask. Ask several people, because you'll get different perspectives. Just for me, it didn't make any sense, because I did my paper for criminal law on the whole Arizona versus Gant, and I know that applies primarily to stopping to somebody. Like, I think his case was having a license suspended, and they found drugs in his coat pocket in the back seat, so that was invalid. So my mindset was the same thing. I originally stopped for speeding. I get there's a firearm in the vehicle, but you're already taken out of the vehicle and put in the back of the patrol car, so you are no longer a threat to remove the evidence or flee with it. So I don't have that right to search your vehicle without a warrant. That was just my mindset. I mean, if anybody else has any thoughts or whatever, shoot a message on here, or shoot an email. Give your thoughts, and if you have any information to help supplement that, I will give it to the rest of our academy recruits, because we had a 10-15 minute discussion on that the other day, because we're all just kind of trying to clarify it. There's some stuff that's literally left up to interpretation. Some people interpret information differently than others, and that's where all these court cases kind of come out to outlay how things go. So maybe someday down the road something else is going to happen, and it'll clarify things up or change things. I hope that all makes sense. All right, last one here, our fitness segment. I'm going to do a little bit, two things. Where to begin when the training stops. What I mean by that is, right now, like us for the academy, we're not doing physical training. You should not stop doing physical training, because, again, your community depends on you, your law enforcement peers, your fellow officers, your department, all depend on you, and you should depend on you. You should not just stop physical exercise. It's very important, injury production and performance standpoint. But my big thing is, what aren't you getting? So right now, I'm the academy, I'm not getting anything. So what's the most important thing? Most important foundation on anything is strength, not maximal strength, basic strength. So at least be doing that 3 to 4 times a week. I mean, at least twice a week while you're still in academy. So bare minimum 2 times a week. 4 would be probably ideal, and you'll be good to go. Your training sessions should have everything in it. Keep it simple. Simple always wins. I cannot stress that enough. People get so focused on how many sets, how many reps, what exercises. Oh, what tempo are you doing? What whey protein are you doing? Like, don't make it overcomplicated. Simple. What I mean by simple is, say I'm doing 3 days per week, full body, cover everything. I'm doing some sort of sprint. I'm doing some sort of jump. I'm doing a variation of a squat or a lower body push. I'm doing a hip hinge or a lower body pull. I'm doing an upper push, and I'm doing an upper pull. And lastly, and most important, well, not most importantly, but also very important, is some sort of conditioning, whether for Michigan, if you're a police officer, whether that's doing the half-mile shuttle run or 300-yard shuttles, anything that's longer endurance base and pushes you to the maximum. You should be doing that still, continuing to train that way, because those are things you will quickly lose. And once you lose them, you have to retrain them. It's not going to take as long for you to get it back, but you still have to retrain them. So keep it simple, focus on the basics. It's not that complicated. If I'm doing 3 days a week, I can switch up the exercises. So you don't do the same workout 3 days per week. So if I'm doing, say, for my sprint, I'm doing a 10-yard sprint on Monday. Well, maybe on Wednesday, I'm going to do a 20-yard sprint, or I'm going to do like a lateral starting sprint. And on Friday, maybe I'll go like a 40-yard sprint, something a little bit longer. So you're doing something different, but it's kind of in the same realm, or the performance parameter. Same thing applies with jumping. On Monday, I'll do a vertical jump, so like a box jump. On Wednesday, I'll do a horizontal jump, like a broad jump. Maybe on Friday, I'll do single leg, so I'll do single leg hops or bounds. You do the same thing with squats. front squat, back squat, split squat, goblet squat, step ups. There's so many different variations you can do. Do not limit yourself. Keep it simple. You will stick to your program much longer, and you will also enjoy it. So many people get caught up into, I'm going to do squat, now I got to do lunges, and now I got to do leg press and leg extensions and hammer my entire freaking lower body and then hurt like hell where I can't get out of bed the next day. How long are you going to stick to something like that? Unless you're like a bodybuilder, not very long. And that's not going to benefit you as a police officer at all. I guarantee you that. I promise you that. Keep it simple. That's the main message to it. Um, this will be later on the road. I'm working on another book as far as like training for the academy and training through the academy. And then as a police officer afterwards, what are some basic programs people can do to train for performance? And it's very simple stuff, but it's easy for me to say it's simple because I've been doing it for 8 years, 8 years, 10 years. I don't even know anymore. I've been doing it for a while. But I also want to throw out there, throw in a little plug for myself. I've recently published, I'm waiting for Amazon to officially release it, but 2 workout journals. They're not spiral bound. It's just paperback. Because there was another company that did spiral bounding, but I just was not a fan of it. And I know as far as like workout logs, people might prefer the spiral bound, but I'm just going with the paperback. But it's called Train Athletic Power Strength and Conditioning. So there's a generic one that's can be used by anybody. That's 6 months of workout sheets, so you can log your workouts. And it's power strength and conditioning because these workout sheets are broken up into segments. You have a power block, a strength training block, and a conditioning block. So most fitness planners out there are not based by that. They just have like exercise, and you write all your exercises and do that. That really limits people. So by this, I'm trying to force people to be creative and train all those components that they should be doing. You have up to 10 sets per exercise, which is a lot. You log your load, how much weight you're using, your reps, and you can circle like circle a day, time, all that type of stuff. That one's black and white. I think it's $10, 6 months, and that's if you're training 7 days a week. So if you're only weightlifting and only logging your weightlifting 3 days per week, it's probably going to last you the entire year. The other one I have is $15. It's all in color. It's a police edition. This one's only 3 months though. There's a variety of reasons for that, and the big one is I want people to change up their training and not just get stuck in a big booklet of stuff. So 3 solid months of training. Get a different book so you don't have to cycle through all the shit ton of paper on there. The police edition is a little bit different. It's got the like the thin blue line stripes on there and stuff like that. That's the main difference. It's also got the thin blue line flag on the top of each workout sheet, but it's the same idea. The Train Athletic, you got your power strengthening and your conditioning blocks up to 10 sets. And it's 3 months if you train 7 days out of the week. So again, if you're only training 2 to 3 days out of the week, that journal might last you the entire year, 6 months, 9 months, whatever it is. So the big reason for this, and I got a lot of feedback when I was working with the hockey guys, is a lot of people use fitness apps. I tried it myself, fitness apps to log your workouts and plan them, and it is a major pain in the ass because trying to switch out exercises and people put all these videos on there. It's just like, I don't want to see the damn video. I just want to put the freaking exercise and log my weights, my sets and reps and stuff. Like, it's so much more of a pain in the butt. And what drives me bonkers is being on my own cell phone trying to log my stuff in the middle of sets, or when I was working with a hockey team, having all of them on their freaking cell phones and then logging all the stuff because you're younger kids. They're going to be on Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. It's just a huge distraction. When you have to physically write something, it takes far less time, and there's a lot of like research and stuff into it of like writing stuff down. You feel a lot more like ownership to it, like a lot more accountability goes towards that when you personally have to write something down yourself. Now, these workout logs allow you to plan your workouts. Again, I don't list the exercises for you. I just give you the sections to make you try to be a little bit more creative. I also put on there like some different types of training you can do, like the complex training, contrast, Tabata type stuff, just to help give some ideas on how to add a little bit of spice into your training. But being able to track your workouts what you're doing and how you're progressing. So you can look, say, week 1, day 1, and then say I'm in a different program, 10, 11 weeks from there, and go, wow, I've progressed this much. I'm doing, 5 sets instead of 4. Look at the weight I'm using. Or now I'm doing an upper lower split instead of a full body split. Just that type of stuff. It's very important to track what you're doing, because how are you going to know you're getting any better? And a lot of people fall in that mistake. They do the same program 3 days a week, or they do the same program over and over and over again, and they don't track anything, and they wonder why they don't see progress. You hear that cliche saying of Rome wasn't built in a day. Well, that's true, but training is so important. You think that that NFL linebacker or that Olympic athlete trains the same way every day, week after week? No. Not only that, I mean, they dedicate every hour of the day to what they do, but there's a reason why they look the way they do and they perform the way they do. When it comes down to training, taking care of your body, and a lot of athletes, it's from practicing the sport. We joked around in the Strength and Conditioning community about people coming in and like holding a picture of like a linebacker of like, I want to look like him. Just like, that's not going to happen unless you take steroids, because that is a product of his training that he's been doing for years, and his ability, like him playing the sport. Because anything like football is a very anaerobic sport that requires a lot of explosive strength and stuff. So each time they're playing a game or doing practice, they're getting reps on that, which the general public's not. So there's a reason why they look the way they do, and their training helps to supplement that and to help improve that performance parameter for that. So just be aware of that. I'm going to end it here. Have a great Easter. I'm going to try to stay up on this. We got one more busy week coming up. So 5 days next week, and then we go 4 days, and then we go to graduation week. Holy shit. That's crazy. We're coming around the corner. We graduate we graduate May 5th, and I start on the 9th, May 9th. It's crazy. Nerves are starting to kick in a little bit, but I'm looking forward to it. Again, have a great Easter. God bless you guys. If you have anything or want to be on here, just reach out to me on theroadlaw@gmail.com. Thank you. Thank you for listening to On the Road, a law enforcement journey. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or would like to be on the show, email me at ontheroadlaw@gmail.com. And please like, share this podcast. Thank you.